I officially retract my previous opinion about Henry Fitzroy's potential to becoming King of England. In previous videos, I always stood firm in my opinion that Henry Fitzroy would not have been accepted by the English public, but after having researched him extensively for my book The Hopeful Duke, which follows his entire life, I completely retract my former opinion. Henry Fitzroy was Henry VIII's illegitimate son by his mistress Bessie Blount when he was married to Catherine of Aragon. He was born outside of wedlock. He was a bastard. There was no way of inheriting the throne, right? But as Fitzroy grew up, Henry VIII saw potential in his only son, and he granted him many titles, including an earldom, a dukedom. He made him Knight of the Garter, he made him President of the Council of the North, and at one point he was almost married to Henry VIII's legitimate daughter, Princess Mary, just so that he and Mary could inherit the throne together. As we know, this betrothal never went ahead, but his potential continued at the forefront of Henry VIII's mind. Remember, he's the only surviving son Henry VIII had throughout the entirety of his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, which was 20 plus years, and throughout his marriage with Anne Boleyn. So by Henry VIII's mid-40s, he still only had this one illegitimate son. And so as the years went on, Henry VIII thought of anything he could possibly do to make Henry Fitzroy acceptable to the English public and the nobles. And as he grew up, Fitzroy was very much accepted as a member of the royal family. He had been elevated to the peerage, he'd received a noble education, he was pretty much being groomed to be king, though he wasn't officially given the title of Prince of Wales. In his teens, Henry VIII gave his son the title of Lieutenant of Ireland, and he even planned to create him King of Ireland, going so far as to sending him on his way to Ireland to claim it. Sadly for Henry Fitzroy, this never went ahead, but Henry VIII did not stop there. After the execution of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII passed the Second Act of Succession, in which he was given the ability to name any one of his 3 surviving children as his successor, regardless of their legitimacy. Remember, at this point in 1536, all 3 of his children were now considered illegitimate. So if he had 3 illegitimate children and one of them was a boy, he was now able to name him as his successor if he wanted to. At this point, the public pretty much expected the king to name Fitzroy as his heir, but incredibly, Henry Fitzroy died shortly after the Second Act of Succession was passed. So had he not died, it's very likely that he would have remained in the line of succession. Henry VIII, of course, went on to have a son in 1537 by Jane Seymour, who became King Edward VI. But had Fitzroy not died in 1536, it's very likely that he will have remained in the line of succession, perhaps even become king after King Edward VI had died. You can now read about Henry Fitzroy's entire life in my new book, The Hopeful Duke. It is available on Amazon, or you can get your signed copy from my TikTok shop.